It's a lot easier to remember. You know, it's funny, since we've actually been listening to the portion being read like that aloud, now every time I start reading it, I've got the different voices in my head. You know, it's the little play. It's awesome. So, like I started out saying, I feel like there was two different realms, okay? There's this slavery realm, and then there was this freedom realm. And I alluded to it a minute ago with the fact that Joshua made the leaders swear to take his bones out of Egypt. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all are paying attention.
Just checking.
Joseph made the leaders swear to take his bones out of Egypt. Now, what did he know about the time to come?
That they would be going to the promised land.
Okay.
Back to Canaan.
Okay.
He knew the Lord would deliver them.
He knew the Lord would deliver them. Okay. Come on, this is interaction time,
He
guys.
knew
Come on.
that Abraham had basically prepared a place for the family to be interred.
Okay.
I mean, that there was a place that the family had set up.
All right. I take that a step further and say that Joseph knew that they weren't in the intended land.
Okay.
So it's yes, that Abraham prepared a place, but it wasn't ever the intended land. And Joseph knew his role was not to just, it wasn't just to save the people. All right? But we've talked about it before, and Alan and I have had this discussion many times about why is it that the people are cast out of the land? Why does the land need rest? Because it's got to be restored, right? So that's what's going on. That's what's taking place. So Joseph, knowing the land, I mean, obviously, I think of him as probably one of the greatest farmers ever. Considering he saved the entire world at that point. Yes, ma'am.
It wasn't really resting because there were other people still living there and doing stuff with it. So it's a different kind of rest.
But it was a different restoration of that land, okay? Because there again, what had happened to the brothers? What were the brothers doing? Were the brothers doing what was right? Were they in mourning? Was Jacob doing what was right even at that point? Had he lost kind of some of his faith even at that point? So there was some restoration that had to happen there. But Joseph knew that they weren't in the intended land. So he knew that one day God was going to visit the people. I mean, that's what my scripture says. And so, why is it that God took them by a different route? I mean, because if you've looked at the map, they didn't go the easy route. They went down and around and away to get like 5 feet the other way. You know what I mean? So why is it that he took them there? Took them that way. They weren't ready.
They would be faint apart.
Okay.
They left armored. They left in battle array.
Sure.
So he got them ready to go, start feeling, we are we're tough and we're bad, and
Sure.
but he didn't actually make them confront
Anything yet.
anything yet.
Okay. Alluding to both those points, though. All right. I'm trying to take this. It's a little bit of a journey, so you got to be in my head to understand it. Sorry about that. But it works out like this in my mind. Who at this point has seen the awesome power and the authority of God? Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Egypt. That's all we know so far. Egypt. Now, is God going to fight for His people?
Yeah.
Absolutely. But will He fight for His people if they're running the other way?
No.
I'm asking the question.
No, because he goes before the people. He's going before them, but they're not headed in the right direction.
So when He says, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near, for God said, lest peradventure the people repent and when they see war. So He's going, well, these big bad guys are going to come up that are a warring nation where these people have been slaves their entire existence at this point. Yeah, they may be strong, they may be muscular because they've been working outside, but at the same time, they have never been a people. Okay? And so they've got this God now that they've seen what's going on, but they haven't had to face anything really tough yet. They haven't had to stand up to anybody yet. And the other fact is that the Philistines don't know, even if they've just heard the stories, the Philistines don't know the awesome power of God yet, the awesome authority of God. So I'm making just a step here. Okay, you can sit there. So that's why I just want you to keep kind of in mind for a second, okay? So when we look at this and we see that Joseph tells the leaders to take my bones out with you because there's going to come a time that God's going to visit you. He knows that they're not in the land of their inheritance. He knows that's not where they're supposed to be. That's not the land of rest. This also speaks to another thing that I thought was very interesting. That Joseph, this is at least 200 years, maybe 300 years before, okay? Joseph is 200 to 300 years before Moses comes back and takes his bones away, right? It has passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation, right? We know that there were probably 3 or 4 or 5 generations in there, okay? I don't know how many, I'm making it up, but at the same time, 200 to 300 years, I'm kind of thinking, and what that equivalentates to me is 4 to 5 generations. Is that everybody on the same page? 4. We got 4 here. Okay.
4 for 100 years.
There you go. About 4 for 100 years. So we're looking at maybe 12 then. So we got 4 generations to 12 generations. I'm just making the point. Instructions that said, take my bones with you. Swear to it. On his deathbed. And they passed that from this generation to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one. Isn't that what was intended about the Torah that was given?
That's what they said to Abraham. That's why he said he'd bring it to Abraham, because he would teach his children. So we're going to keep that. Just keep all these things in mind, because I'm getting somewhere with this. But I want you to just keep these things, these thoughts in mind. Yes.
In 1626. He said, if you listen and attend to my voice, Adonai your God, that you will consider the right, pay attention to my mitzvahs, and observe my laws. Keep in mind that all of this is prior to
Sinai. Right.
All of these have had to be handed down just the same as all of this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And may not have all 613, but they had enough to know right from wrong.
Right. Right. Yes, sir.
Well, I think it's kind of 2 things. One, he wanted to show his power,
Okay.
not just to the Egyptians, and not just to his people, but to the world.
Right.
And now the people are going to be afraid to trespass against God's people
Right.
because of what he did to the Egyptians.
Absolutely. That's where I was getting, because that's what's going to happen here. Right? That's what. Sorry, this is the Red Sea. I'm not a very good artist, but it's the Red Sea, okay? And then we've got a wall on the left and a wall on the right. All right? These are walls of water. And it says that they walked across the Red Sea on dry land. Okay? First off, pretty impressive in my book. Secondly, who made Pharaoh's heart hard? God did. God actually said that I will make his heart hard. He will come after you.
Rethink what they had done.
And so this speaks to that point. It's not just for the Egyptians' sake anymore. He's wanting this to get on the... Everybody's going to know God is the ultimate power. God has in favor the children of Israel. Okay? These are under his covering. Yes?
Well, and it says that because of these things, then, all these other nations, it lists the other
Right.
nations.
They'll
They
tremble
will,
and they'll-
tremble and they'll fear.
Absolutely. But that's why he didn't lead them through. And look, I don't know about you. This is my 6th, 7th time reading through this, okay? Actual portion. And the thing is, I've never really stopped to consider why. Because it does not make a whole lot of sense to go a month journey this way when you've got to go back a month journey this way to go 5 miles this way. I mean, it's the truth, okay? It's like, Alan, for you to go to Subway, you need to go all the way around the loop to get back on 19th to come back to Subway that's, what, 2 blocks from your house? That's exactly the scenario here. But it was for the reason of, yes, sir.
Well, go ahead, finish your thought.
Well, they fly in and out, so you
Okay,
gotta, when you got them, you got them.
What, when you, as you're saying this, the image that's really coming to mind to me and where I think it bears it, is it's like saying, okay, Garen is gonna be betrothed to somebody right here. You decided that.
Okay.
Well, do you consummate it right there?
No.
No? There's a period where you're separated, there's a time period in between that point where you say, this we will do, you know, yes, we have signed this ketubah, we've agreed to do this, you're gonna be our bride, and you're gonna be the bridegroom, and when you actually come together and consummate that marriage. And I think this is really a picture of exactly that they've agreed to leave their family, if you will,
Sure.
slavery, Egypt. They've agreed to leave their mother and father, sort of, and cleave to their husband.
Speaking to, though, why? Because it was for the world to know, right? But that's not just it. It was also for the children of Israel to know. Because they were the ones that were going to run away. You know, I mean, that's what he's saying here. Peradventure, they repent from going this way with God and go, this is too hard. I mean, we already see them do that in this, we already see them do that in this portion. They murmur 4 times, 3 times. 3 times in this portion. 1 second, guys. I've got to continue with this thought, otherwise it will be gone.
Yeah.
So they're going to murmur 3 times in this portion alone. How many stops are they going to make in this time alone? In this portion?
3, 2, Gemara, and
6.
6.
6 stops along in this portion.
Sin, right?
Okay? Now here's the thing, is that why is God doing this? I'm trying to get that point out. Why is God making them go on this journey that is all the way around the loop from Alan's house to go a block down the way?
That's what he always does, to test them.
He's getting their heart right.
Yeah.
He's getting their heart right.
Well, you know, just from the opposite end of it, do you think that's why he splits up the betrothed? Is there an inherent test in the same sense?
Well, Ty, boy, didn't your daddy ever send you on like a little treasure hunt, a scavenger hunt, where he wanted you to discover some certain things along the way, and you would put all those together so that when you did find the treasure,
It meant more, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's right. Yes, sir.
I think it very much has to do also, just like the military, before they actually physically go into war, they have military exercises. So they were kind of learning, they've been slaves all these years. They hadn't been journeying, they hadn't experienced any of the community in this particular way.
Right.
And so this was a military exercise, if you will.
Okay.
And it was a time for them to kind of get to know each other and to be proven, to find out those things that are difficult to deal with.
Right.
Find out those, different things.
Build their esprit de corps.
well, he was creating a country because the Egyptians were their soldiers before, so they had to learn how to be their own country of soldiers.
Yes, ma'am.
I think they had been delivered physically, but then they needed to be delivered emotionally. And they had come out of Egypt, but God knew that it would take war to take Egypt out of them.
Sure.
40 years there.
No, you're right. So let's get back to it. What's going on in Egypt? What's been going on in Egypt with them, okay? They've been in Egypt. They've been under slavery. They've had nothing but fear, taking place. Because why? I mean, Pharaoh's instituted murdering all the new boys that are, come on the
And they have to
scene.
make their same quota without
Had-
the same materials.
Taskmasters were over them. There was lots of death going on. I mean, you know, there's all those kind of things, right? The bondage, the old nature, there's darkness, and then there's exile because they're in a land that's not their own. It's this kingdom of Satan, so this is going to be something we'll get to here in a minute as to a picture of where we are. Okay? But then something happens. Salvation comes on the scene. Now, what is the salvation?
Freedom. Has to be. What? Going to the water.
Physical
Saved from
deliverance
Pharaoh
from-
and his army.
The physical deliverance from the immediate circumstance.
That's right. That's what I'm getting at. That's the physical deliverance from the immediate circumstance. That's the salvation that's happening right here. Okay? But that's the picture of what's going to be making all these other nations tremble in fear of the children of Israel and of the authority of God. Okay? Because this is what's going on. These guys get saved from Pharaoh. How many times now? Twice. Now, it also speaks to that they were willing to go back.
Right?
Every time. They're like, okay, thank you for saving us. I'll go jump back in. Yes, sir.
It's like today, are we willing to give up our freedom in order that the government supply us everything? They were willing to give up their freedom in order for Egypt to give them all their food that they wanted.
Right.
And everything was supplied to them.
All the water to drink, all the, they may be sitting by the flesh pots, but you know what? We can at least drink something. We can at least eat something. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, no, finish what?
No. Go ahead.
They just say that if you walked into a room and everybody could put their problems on a table, and then when you walk out, everybody could take a different set of problems or their own back, everybody would take their own problems back
Absolutely.
because they're comfortable with it and they know what they are. We're more afraid of the unknown than we are of the known.
You're right. You're right. So that's where we're at. Okay, so let's move forward. Now where we're at is this baptism by fire or by water, if you will. Yes, sir.
In 14, verse 13, Moses answered the people, stop being so fearful, remain steady, and you will see how Adonai will save you.
Right.
Here, he will do it today. Today you will see the Egyptians. You've never seen them again. Adonai will do battle for you. Just calm yourself down. Adonai asked Moses, why are you crying? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. They would not do that. They could not have that.
Right. Absolutely. And that's the point. They had to show up. And they had to stay there, plant their feet, and not go, forget this. They had to stay there. They had to keep moving in this direction because that was the direction to where? The Promised Land. That was the direction to Sinai. That was the direction to salvation. The future salvation, if you will. Okay?
Well, I think what you just said is exactly it, that yes, what happened right here was their salvation had to do with their immediate present and changing their immediate present to something else.
Right.
But there was still this future salvation. It wasn't all answered. It wasn't going to be like, okay, you guys made it through the Red Sea. The path is clear to the Promised Land. Go get it.
Here's that picture in another sense. It's that past salvation, present salvation, and the future salvation, right? Okay. What's the past salvation? We're in Egypt. We're not supposed to be here anymore. They're making this hard. God, come save us. I think it was a little more in detail than that. But that's basically what was said. And God sends Moses on the scene. And guess what? Plagues happen. Everybody gets to see this. And then how did the children of Israel leave Egypt? Blessed.
Absolutely.
Out the wazoo. All of the Egyptians, their hearts were softened. They were here, take this, take my gold, here's raiment for you, you know what, you need, here, take this, you know?
Silverware.
And I can imagine they were also going, take my child.
Yeah, you know, that's probably an excellent point here.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah, because I may not have the courage to lead, but here, take my child, take my
Right.
future.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just making that point that there's some past salvation here, okay? Now we're at the next present danger. There's a sea in front of us, and I'm not a swimmer. There's Pharaoh behind me, and he's mad. Uh-oh. God, save me again. And he goes, okay, calm down, here you go. Parts the seas, and he's like, guess what? You're going to go on even dry ground, because this isn't going to be something that can be ever contested. It's not ever going to be contested. This is something that was completely a God thing. Never can be contested that God didn't take part in doing this.
He started off with the easiest thing for them to do.
Just walk.
Because, no, there was, like you just said, there was no question about, well, let's see, we could do it this way.
Right.
We could do it this way. Well, if we did this, we could get, there was no, we could do anything. This is a hopeless situation for us to do it in our power.
Is anybody in here claustrophobic? We got some claustrophobic people. My wife is very claustrophobic, okay? And, I mean, tight, small cars even freak her out, okay? So, we don't have any small cars. We got to have something that's got room because she needs to breathe. Covers over the head. She can't stand it. It's one of those kind of things. Well, think about this. You've got a mass multitude. We're not going to give a number on it because that made problems last time I said that. So there's a mass multitude of people here, and there's nowhere to go.
One too many.
One too many, okay? There's a lot of people here, and there is nowhere to go. And they're boxed in because now you've got a horde.
The whole army of Pharaoh.
The whole army of Pharaoh. And it's not a little army.
And they're stirred up.
And they are mad. It's like, they left? Wait, we told them to leave, but they left? How dare them? And took everything. They plundered us. And here we go. We're going to take all of our strength. And they're the only strength at this point.
Even worse, because in their own hearts, they knew they didn't plunder us. We gave it to them. We are really going to look stupid. If this ever gets out, there's no way we can let this out, because we are going to really look bad.
Not only that, they killed all of their oldest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a vengeance thing in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what was between the two?
I'm sorry?
What was between the Egyptians?
Right, the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire, or the pillar of fire and the cloud, okay? And it was a shard of darkness, okay?
Until they got pinned in, though.
Huh?
That wasn't until they got pinned in, because the cloud and the pillar of fire went before them. But when they got pinned out there on the Gulf of Aqaba, when they went between the mountains, that's when they went.
It changed positions.
All right, so but that speaks to there was still protection.
Yep.
Okay? But here's the thing. My kids get scared even if I'm there with them. Does that make sense?
It's because you're not God. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to say I'm their picture of that, though. That's how they're supposed to know who God is through me and through my presence with them. But what I'm saying is that they can still get scared even if I'm in the room with them. If you teach your kids how to swim, I used to give swimming lessons. And if they're standing on the side of the pool and you're going, come on, jump to me, jump to me, jump to me. And they're still going, you're nuts. This is crazy. I'm not doing this. And then finally they just do it. And you're not aware and you drop them and they cry. But no, anyway. No, it's one of those things, it's all good, right? Because then it's like they've got that comfort now. And now there's, okay. You know, it's that buildup. It's that buildup. Well, they just saw the Egyptian army go down in the Red Sea. Yes, sir, Eddie. I'm sorry.
What spiritual principle did Moses ask people to invoke when they saw that?
When they saw what?
The Egyptians.
Oh.
They said, stand still. Be calm.
Fear not.
Yeah.
So what you're saying in these areas of fear, if you don't face those fears, they will control you. whether it's claustrophobia or whatever.
I'm not putting her in the trunk. She won't do that.
No.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but there again, though, even with having triumph claustrophobia, say that was lots of them, that was their problem. That wasn't their problem, but I'm just saying, even they conquer that fear. It wasn't about that, because they still, I'm thirsty. And then it's, I'm hungry.
And what did Jesus say to the ruler of the synagogue when he was coming to him, wanting him to come and heal his daughter who was nearly or at the point of death? He said, "Fear not, only believe."
Okay,
Moses is saying, "Fear not."
You're right.
Only believe.
But you've got to talk about the difference of the people. Here's the difference of the people. What's the difference between Christopher and myself?
Spiritual growth.
Spiritual growth. That's the difference. These are children of Israel. There's not once that they're mentioned as the men of Israel, as the sons of Israel, as the sons of the living God. They're the children of Israel is how they are deemed. Okay? They're the children of God. That's how they're deemed. Why? Because they're not at a spiritual growth level yet. And so Moses is that. He's the teacher on the playground blowing the whistle saying, "Hello, calm down. Don't freak out." You know, have you ever been in a school or just remember back to the days when a fire drill would go off and the kindergartners would freak out just about every time, right? And then the third graders, they were always, okay. And then they get up and they get in the line. Why? Because they had been trained to do so, right? That's what's happening here is God's got to do that, though. And this is His process of doing it. So, let's move on.
Ty,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, you said that God had done this wonderful miracle that nobody could ever say that He didn't have His hand in it, you know, when He opened the sea. Do you know scientists have even come up with a way where there's a shelf across there and they believe if the wind is in the right direction?
Sure.
Yeah, but it's taken them 6,000 years to come up with that, or 4 or 5,000.
That takes care of one wall of water.
Well, yeah, but you know, there again, I also know that penicillin works. And back then it was considered heresy. So, what is the difference? Is it maturity? I don't think it's maturity.
Actually, I think it proves, in fact, that it did happen, because we see that where it's possible. The question is, when's the last time it happened? You know, the wind doesn't blow there once a year and dry it out.
I was gonna say, I think she makes a good point in that it's so silly that men would try to prove that it wasn't God when it obviously was.
Okay, all right, hold on. Now let's talk about this though. All right, because I'm with you. I've heard the same thing. But when he says that there was a wall of water on their right-hand side and a wall of water on their left-hand side, I've never seen anything that could create a wall of water like that. Not together. Not in a canal. Not in a hallway type setting. And that's what we're talking about.
You're looking at 2 million people walking through.
Right, it had to be something large, you know. Yeah, you've been to the Red Sea, okay? What? Didn't make it. All right. But y'all have seen the Red Sea. How wide across is that they had to walk across?
8 miles.
8 miles.
God said that shelf was 200 feet deep.
So they went down into a valley to go to the
And I'm just making
Well,
the
and it
point.
says they looked up and saw Pharaoh's army pursuing after them.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just making the point, though.
It's deep.
We can say, oh, well, yeah, scientists can prove it. God already proved it. Why do we need scientists to prove it? I'm sorry. No, I know you're right.
I'm just saying that there are still people, even though that's.
Right, and that adds to it.
A miracle.
Right. No. I'm not disagreeing with your point with that. I just want to make that point known. Because it comes down to what standard are we going to stand on? Is this truth or not? And if it's not, why are we here, guys? Y'all go home. Have a good day.
If they prove it,
This isn't right.
actually, where it was, how it was, you know, that just makes it all more exciting to trying to figure out, okay, what are we gonna go through?
I'm glad you're excited about that, Mel.
Were they believing the Lord before the Red Sea was split?